we start learning the trigonometric from sine and cosine. We draw a unit circle with a cosine represent x and sine represent y on the unit circle. Then from here, we came up with 4 more functions, trigonometric functions. There are tangent of alpha, cotangent of alpha, secant of alpha, and cosecant of alpha. So these 4 coming from this guy, this sine and cosine. This sine and cosine makes tangent, cotangent, secant, and cosecant. And the relation was that tangent equal to sine of alpha over cosine of alpha. So we define tangent like sine and cosine. There's no proof for it, we defined it. And cotangent become cosine of alpha over sine of alpha. And secant is 1 over cosine of alpha, and cosecant is 1 over sine of alpha. So there's no more. There's 6 trigonometry. You know as much as I know about those 6 functions. So what is identity? Identity means this one. I mean, this guy, cotangent, equal to cosine over sine. That's identity. Example, like cotangent of alpha equal to A, cosine of alpha over secant of alpha, B, cosecant of alpha over sine of alpha, C, sine of alpha over cosine of alpha, D, cosine of alpha over sine of alpha. Which one do we pick?
D.
Very good. So the answer is D. How do we know D? You have this in your note sheet, that cotangent is cosine over sine. So this was like a very super basic question about identity. But for the same question, cotangent of alpha, I can make another type of multiple choice. Like, it's my favorite color. Like A is secant square alpha, B is 1 over tangent of alpha, C is cosine square of alpha over sine of alpha, D tangent of alpha over sine of alpha.
B.
So this part, the first multiple choice, you love it. It's something that exactly related to your note sheet. You can just pick it. Is cosine over sine. It's the first identity of cotangent. But now I made it a little more complicated. So you don't see, when you see cotangent of alpha, in your brain say, oh, this is cosine alpha, sine alpha. But when you look at them, it's not there. So your job is to simplify which one gives you cosine over sine. Definitely secant squared doesn't give me any fraction. This is out. This is out. I mean, this is just made it up. The only option is 1 over tangent of alpha. Why is that? Tangent of alpha equal to sine of alpha over cosine of alpha. If I make a reciprocal of this, this will be cosine alpha over sine alpha. So B is correct. Again, this was something that you should know as well, or you should have in your note sheet, that tangent and cotangent, they are reciprocal of each other. Because tangent is sine over cosine, cotangent is cosine over sine. So therefore, they are just reciprocal. You can just write tangent of alpha equal to 1 over cotangent of alpha. Good. Also, from here, we can say anywhere we see tangent of alpha multiplied by cotangent of alpha, the answer should be 1. Good. Just cross multiply. The good thing is, this is the first super duper identity, the basic identity that makes sense. But the bad thing is we have like millions of type of question that they ask us to prove the identity. For example, prove the left-hand side equal right-hand side. So before we go to the more example, I'm gonna show you guys what you need to memorize or what you should have in your note sheet. So they call it fundamental identity. Fundamental means it's a basic identity, that cotangent equal to 1 over tangent. We just talked about it. So before we go to this fundamental identity, that's what we wrote, that tangent of alpha is sine alpha over cosine alpha. Here they're using theta, I'm going to use theta. Then cotangent of theta equal to cosine of theta over sine of theta. Then we have secant of theta equal to 1 over cosine of theta. Cosecant of theta is 1 over sine theta, correct? This much come from the beginning, correct? Then this is coming from here. So cotangent equal to 1 over tangent, you can just memorize it. Secant of theta equal 1 over cosine, which I wrote it here. Cosecant is 1 over sine. I wrote it there. Any questions so far?
No questions.
Thanks, Joshua. So what do we do with them? We memorize them. Same as you know, radical 16 equal to 4. It's not related to this, but anywhere you see radical 16 or radical 25, you put the answer. It bothers you to keep it radical 25. So you simplify it. Here, same, cosecant is 1 over sine. Quotient identity, oh, well, we have them here. I don't know why I wrote it there. Tangent theta equal to sine over cosine. Cosine equal to cotangent is cosine over sine. And we have Pythagorean identity. I proved this one for you guys. All right. We proved it through the Pythagorean theorem that sine squared plus cosine squared equal to 1. Then tangent squared plus 1 equal to secant squared theta. I don't want you to memorize this too, because it's too much to memorize. I would like you guys just love the first one. And I know you know it. We had a question on exam as well. Sine squared plus cosine squared equal to 1. But let's prove, for example, this one. Let's see how this coming from. I'm going to make another layer. Invisible, invisible. No. So I'm going to prove this guy. Prove it. You might have a question like this to show it. You can't just say, oh, this equal to that. If I ask you guys, prove tangent square of theta plus 1 equal to secant square of theta. How do we prove that this side equal to this side? One technique is that you already know, we talked about that you can make everything in terms of sine and cosine and see if you get the other side. You also know in order to prove the identity, you cannot simplify both sides of the equality. You need to start from left, go to right, or from right, go to left. All right. But the way I'm going to prove it, I'm going to use this one, the beautiful formula here. So I'm going to write it down. I'm going to use different color, like this is beautiful, shiny color. So I'm going to say sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equal to 1. This is what we have. We don't need to prove this. I'm not going to ask you guys to prove this. But how do I get to this side? So I'm going to divide both sides by cosine of a square. Okay, I'm going to divide this cosine squared theta, cosine squared theta, and cosine squared theta. Good. What is sine squared over cosine squared theta? Joshua?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was, what is sine squared over cosine squared? This one.
Sine squared over cosine squared? Wouldn't that be tangent squared?
Very good. So here you see sine over cosine is tangent. If I square this and I square that one, I put the square not on theta. I put it next before theta. And you can put here 2. So this will be tangent squared of theta plus what is cosine over cosine? Is a cancel, is 1, correct? Equal to what is 1 over cosine squared theta? This is 1 over cosine of theta is secant. If I square this one, if I, actually I can show it with the mouse here and then square this one, okay? Do you see the mouse? Do you see I'm moving the mouse around?
I do not.
I thought that, yeah, this doesn't show. But this you see. Anyway, so the other side gonna be secant square theta. So now we have this, we proved it. Good, but I, like you guys for sure, you know this one. But it would be handy to have these two as well. It's not that difficult to memorize. Sometimes it expedites the solution, but don't freak out. So too many questions to memorize. We also talked about even and odd. We said we proved that sine of theta is odd. Correct? Sine of -10 . Thank you. Yes. So we learned that, Rory, yeah. We learned sine of is odd. Correct? Then we learn cosine is even. So this is even, that's odd. You also can memorize the rest of that. Tangent is odd, cotangent is odd, secant is even, cosecant is odd. So where are those coming from? They're coming from sine and cosine. Any question?
No questions.
Thanks. So no question. So this should go, this should be somewhere handy on your note sheets. Okay, this should be something that you should have it. Now followed by this information, let's have one example or one type of question. The question is, if tangent of theta equal to -5/3, again, this is my favorite questions. And this is something that you need to be good at it at end of this course. The final exam, for sure, question like this, I give you one trigonometry and ask you the rest. All right. And then we talked about this a few times. It's not that complicated. You have to go through a few steps. But now the way we're going to solve it, we are not going to solve through the picture. We're going to do algebra. If tangent of theta equal to -5/3 and theta is in quadrant 2, okay, solve or find secant of theta, sine of theta, and cotangent of negative theta. Good. Before we talked about you need to make a unit circle, and that the unit circle, drawing a triangle, use Pythagorean theorem to solve for x, y, r. Okay, let me go over that because that's very important as well. That's what we learned before. A circle, we have quadrant 2. I randomly make theta here, correct? And I make a right triangle. This is x, that's y, that's r. Karen, are you following me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Very good. So this was before. This is like a super smart way to solve, which I don't care which way you use to answer this question. Good. But today I'm gonna show you guys the new way. We're gonna use identity to prove it, to show it. So the given is tangent of theta. Tangent of theta in your note sheet is y/x. This is -5/3, okay? So x is -3 and y is 5. The way I put it negative looks like 5 is negative, but y on this quadrant is positive, correct? So y cannot be negative. So this is same as -5/3 or 5/-3. Doesn't matter which way. But you should know on quadrant 2, x is negative, y is positive. Then we use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for r. We know x squared plus y squared equal to r squared. This will give us -3 squared plus 5 squared equal to r squared. This is 9 plus 25 equal to r squared. If you add them, I get 34 equal to r squared. Now, what is r? What is r? Is that
R
r?
is radical 34.
Very good. So r will be radical 34. Is that radical 34? Are we able to simplify it, or should we leave it like this?
Leave as is.
All right, Joshua, we'll leave it as it is. Why? Because we cannot simplify it. 34 is even if you this is 2 multiplied by 17. 2 is prime, 17 is prime. So there's no love between them. There's nothing there's no other, we cannot break it down. So we leave it as radical 34. So now they ask us like a sine of theta. Sine of theta is y over r. What is y over r, which will be 5 over root 34, correct? This, we have to irrationalize it by radical 34, radical 34. This will give us 5 root 34 over 34. This is sine, can go right there. Here they're tricking us. What is cotangent of negative theta? Good. So this is our theta. What is negative theta? Negative theta going to be somewhere around here, but we don't want to draw another one. We just learned that cotangent of negative theta is odd. This is negative cotangent of theta. Where did I get this? I got it from here. I got it from cotangent of negative theta equal to negative cotangent of theta. All right. So okay, here. So now what is cotangent of theta? Cotangent of theta, we learn this is negative x over y, or reciprocal of tangent, correct? Immediately you could just say 3 over 5. So we have negative 3 over 5. So the answer will be positive 3 over 5. So there is a negative here. X is negative 3, so I put negative 3. Then we have negative, negative, it will be positive. What is secant? Secant is 1 over cosine of theta. Cosine of theta is x over r. It's the same as r over x. Or you should have it secant is r over x. If you simplify this, it's radical 34 over negative 3. So we solve it through this unit circle. Any question here?
No, I was going to answer the question. I was going to answer it.
Algebraic.
But then you were explaining it.
Very good, very good. So solving it this way is is a good skill that I would like you guys know it for sure. And we went through this. And I also brought some question in the exam. But now let's do the algebra part. Okay. We have tangents. And we have a page of, can I shrink this? Transform. This Adobe is amazing. Have you guys used Adobe Lightroom?
No. I have used it at one point, but then I only use it for like cutting out a background. That's it.
Yeah, the Lightroom is amazing, unbelievable. I also do photography sometimes. So the pictures, like it did, when you take it to the Lightroom and do little of the lighting on the different area, it will be super cool. Anyway, so now we are here. We're going to do algebraically, and you have this on your note sheets. Tangent is given. We have one formula here. I mean, this formula said tangent and secant, correct? So if I use that one, I'm able to solve for secants. But that's so much work to do, but that's fine. Usually for a question like this, at least one of them is super simple to solve because there's a direct relation between the given and what they're asking. For example, cotangent. So cotangent, we have cotangent and tangent is reciprocal. Good. So we have cotangent of theta equal to 1 over tangent of theta. But they ask us the negative. So you need to take care of the negative. Cotangent of negative theta equal to negative cotangent of theta. Good. So now let's take care of this part. Let's find this one and substitute back. So I'm going to use this guy. Cotangent of theta is 1 over tangent of theta equal to 1 over negative 5 over 3. Reciprocal of this equal to negative 3 over 5. So we have this cotangent of theta. I need to plug it back to this. So as a result, we're going to get negative 3 over 5, which is positive 3 over 5. And we are done for cotangent. So this is done, 3 over 5. Now let's look at another one, sine. Between tangent and sine, there is this formula, and there is no other one. If you want to use this, you need to know cosine, which we don't know cosine. So that's not going to be a good selection. So let's do this secant. Let's find secant. Secant is the relation between secant and tangent is this formula. We have tangent square theta plus 1 equal to secant square theta. Where did this coming from your note sheets, correct? Tangent square theta. So tangent of theta without this is negative 5 over 3. If I square this one, it will be tangent square. Plus 1 equal to secant square theta. So now we have to do algebra to solve for secant. -5 to power of 3, it will be 25/9 plus 1 equal to secant square theta. If we simplify this, I'm going to shoot it right there. So 25/9 plus 1 equal to 25 plus 9/9. Where is those 9 coming from? Because this is, you find the common denominator. I multiply these two by 9, and I get this. So if I add them, I get 34/9. So this much become, let me get rid of this guy. What's happening? So all right, I got it. So what's happening is secant square of theta equal to 34/9. Then secant of theta will be radical 34/9. Here is the important part. You need to put plus and minus equal to plus minus radical 34/9, which is plus minus radical 34/3. Now your job is to tell me, is that should we select plus or should we select minus? That's why they said in quadrant 2. In quadrant 2, in this quadrant, we have cosine is positive. Oops. Cosine is negative, sine is positive. And secant is 1/cosine will be negative. So we will get the negative one. It would negative radical 34/3. Negative radical 34/3. Now, how do we solve for sine? We go back to this. There is no formula from tangent to sine right away. But let's see, what do we have? We have secant, okay? So let me make some room here. So sine of theta, we want to solve for sine. Sine being super lonely. How do we get sine? We have tan, one of the, so we know tangent of theta equal to sine of theta over cosine of theta. Good. We are interested to get sine. Do we have tangents? Tangent we have is right there. Do we have cosine? Karen, do we have cosine?
Yeah. Or
What is that?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, you were right. We have it, but we are not sure. Anybody else? Jake, you're still connecting. Is this type of
I don't think he can hear you.
huh?
When it's connecting, you're not able to hear anything.
I know it's not connecting for the last few weeks. Anyway. Anybody else? Do we have cosine that I can plug it to the formula to get the sine? Edison. Mauricio.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. It's a
That's
lot.
good. I like to be honest. I give you one extra point. So this is a challenge. And this is part of the way we solve. We have to look around to see how do we get sine. But for sure, you have fully 100% that you don't think that there is a mistake in the question. You don't think, oh, we are missing something, let's escape the question. No, there is, but you are in the level that you need to challenge yourself. So where can we find it? We have secant here, and the relation between secant and cosine. We know secant of theta equal to 1 over cosine of theta, correct? So this is something happening in your note sheets. Secant is we have, so we can get cosine and then substitute it there. So from here, cosine of theta equal to 1 over secant of theta. I guess following me, correct? Now, we put this in the ship. We take it to the shore. We're going to say 1 over negative radical 34 over 3. This equal to, I don't want you guys sink here because of this ugly fraction. Don't have that feeling you can do it. This is going to be 3 over radical 34, correct, is negative. You irrationalize it. And the answer is negative 3 radical 34 over 34. So that's the cosine. So now, you swing back with this, plug it to this formula. We need more space. I'm going to continue the same blue shiny color. Tangent of theta we have is, so before I plug it in, because we're looking for sine of theta, I'm going to cross multiply by cosine, multiply by cosine theta. Then sine of theta equal to cosine of theta times tangent of theta. Cosine of theta is this guy is swimming in, bring it back, negative 3 root 34 over 34, multiply what is tangent is negative 5 over 3. If I multiply these two, I get the answer. This 3 and that 3 will cancel. Negative gives me positive, and that's it. You will do 5 root 34 over 34. This is this guy. Any question?
No questions. I think I get it now.
I feel you guys that you guys don't like it. I know that you think this is too much. You're not gonna able to do it.
No, I understand it.
I know, but as long as you understand what algebra I did, that's perfect. But you need to do few of those by yourself. This is a main core of this trigonometry. You need to use those identity to get other parts. And I want you guys to be happy because this is advanced. This is advanced math. People make money and get higher job because of this skill. So don't just say, oh, I'm gonna just pass this course. No, this might what make you to have a better job. All right, so let's have another question. If you guys don't have, okay, let's have, oh, good, you have something here. Let's do this and then I let you guys go, and I want to send you guys one email that why you guys not showing up in the core in the class. I hope everybody's okay, but when I'm asking you, when I'm picking the name, like say Karen, Jonathan, and I'm just asking to just you guys participate. You don't need, the answer doesn't need to be correct. It makes me to be more creative to teach. For example, Karen, first one, what do you think the answer, the sig number 6? This. If tangent of theta is 2.6, then what is tangent of negative theta? Give you multiple choice. Is that going to be 2.6 or negative 2.6?
Negative 2.6.
Very good. You're right. It is negative 2.6. I'm not going to ask you why, but because you have this in your note sheet, tangent is odd function. On that page, I show you guys tangent of negative theta equal to negative tangent of theta. So this is happening. What about number 7? Karen, you, because you're only one with the picture. Just don't remove it, please. I mean, this one, 7. Karen, you.
It's 0.65 positive.
Excellent. Got it. So it's positive 6 point what? No. No. This was tricky. They trick us. So I know what you're saying. Also, my mind was reading exactly your mind. We know cosine of negative theta equal to cosine of theta. Then cosine is the negative. Agree? So if there is a negative inside of the theta, it will go away. So if you apply this rule, cosine of negative theta is equal to cosine of theta. Now, what is cosine of theta? What's the value of cosine of theta?
Negative
Very good.
0.65.
Yeah. So this was much, again, tricky. We just was playing with your mind. So the answer is negative 0.6. If I ask you, if I tell you cosine of theta equal to 0.45, what is cosine of negative theta? What is the answer, Karen?
Does it stay the same?
Very good. Yeah. but this one was messing up with us. Joshua. Well, Joshua and Joshua. So we have, I think we have
Hello.
2 people, but this both of them are you, correct? Joshua Kwan, Joshua Ifan. Is that you? Both of them are you?
No.
No, one of them is Jonathan. Jonathan. Oh, it's Jonathan. Sorry. I haven't had fully coffee yet. Joshua, what do you think about numbers 8?
Number 8, if tangent is 1/16.
Mm-hmm.
I put that in Desmos and I got 0.625, which is
If you give me
5/8.
fraction, what is the answer? Yes. You did reciprocal, correct? Very nice. So tangents and cotangent, we have it in the note sheet that cotangent is 1 over tangent of theta. They're reciprocal of each other. So this gives us 1/1.6, which is 10/16, which is 5/8, something like this.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. I know you guys gonna go. It's Friday. Thank you guys for joining me. If you guys answer number 10 correctly, then we all go enjoy it's sunny here. It's sunny day.
2/3. Because it's double negative, which means it's positive.
So if it's not correct, we're gonna go to 10 o'clock. Is that sure? Can you guys, Karen, is he correct? Edison, please.
I think so.
Yeah, he's correct. So we don't want to go to 10 o'clock or 10:30. So Joshua, tell me one more time.
Because is it both the negative for theta and the negative for the sine? Double negative is positive.
So what's the final answer?
2/3. It's
So
just
I'm gonna
2/3.
investigate on this guy to see if we can just get rid of, finish this class or not. So we have sine of theta. It's a great, this sine of theta, we love it. Negative sine of negative theta. This one, you have it in your note sheet that sine of negative theta equal to negative sine of theta. The negative will go outside. And the question has another negative here. Negative is positive sine of theta. Sine of theta, we have it here, is 2/3. So this is correct. All right, guys.